limits that are so clearly laid out in the Constitution aren't slowing down those folks in Washington, D.C., though, folks. They are continuing to erode our rights, waste our tax dollars, bury the next generation under a mountain of debt. And I think it's well past time to halt this endless intrusion into our lives. Put a stop to this out-of-control spending. Restore our commitment to a shared set of values. Now, I'm talking about values that were forged on the anvil of experience. Values that form the nucleus of our nation. Values that our fighting men and women have died for all around this country and on this globe. I'm talking about life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. I'm talking about the uniquely American freedom to plot one's own course, pursue one's own dream, choose the right light bulb that you want, not just the one that happens to be the favorite of the president. Federal government has its hand way too far in our pockets, its nose way too far in our business, and its fingers too deep in its own ears to hear what the American people are trying to tell it. It's time for the federal government to be less intrusive, more responsive to the wishes of the conservative citizens of this country. You see, we know what route you need to take to success. I told them I'm an animal science major from Texas A&M University, but I understand how to run a government. You keep the taxes low. You don't spend all the money. You keep the regulatory climate fair and balanced. You have a legal system in place that doesn't allow people to oversue each other. You keep an educated workforce in place. And then you get out of the way and let the private sector do what the private sector does. Create jobs and wealth. That's not rocket science. And I can tell them a place to look where they do that. You need a blueprint about how to run America? Look to Texas. Folks, there is a reason. Look, we got great live music, barbecue, and all that kind of good stuff, but there is a reason even above that why more Fortune 500 companies call Texas home than any other state. We're the #1 exporting state in the country for the 7th year in a row, I might add. In 2008, last year, Texas created more jobs than the other 49 states combined. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because we made some tough decisions here. Doc, in 2003, we showed up in Austin, Texas. There's a $10 billion budget deficit. And we could have taken the easy road out. We could have said, oh man, we didn't know it was going to be $10 billion. And we could have said, listen, we're going to cut some of this, but we're going to have to raise the taxes on y'all a little bit. We're going to have to raise your fees over at the vet clinic. That's not what we did. Newspapers screamed all over this country, oh, you can't cut that much government back out. You know, we'll be the laughingstock of the world. You cannot do that. You'll hurt too many people. I looked them in the eye, and along with some other strong conservatives in Austin, Texas, and we said, yes, we are. Because we're going to show you that we can run this state the way men and women in private business have to run their businesses every day. And we did that. We cut $10 billion out of that budget. And let me tell you what, in a short 2-year period later, we came back into Austin, Texas with an $8 billion budget surplus. It's not rocket science. Quit spending all the money. Cut the people's taxes. You want the example of what happens when you raise the taxes on people, on the businessmen? California and Michigan, yes ma'am, you got it right. You want the blueprint for how not to do it right? Look to those two states. They're in budget deficits. You want the blueprint about how to show America how to come out of this recession? Look to Texas. Man, I'm just getting started and I'm just talking about the budget. Now we're going to talk about border security. You talk about an abysmal failure. Washington, D.C. has not done one of the principal things that government is supposed to be able to do, and that is defend our country. Secure our border. You got to put boots on the ground. Use the technology. Send us some help down here. You want the example of how to do it? We're spending millions of your tax dollars in Texas to defend our border. I'm telling you, that is what Washington needs to use as their blueprint. We can show them how to stop the drug dealers, how to stop the criminal element that's trying to penetrate our border to do harm to our citizens, the people that are trying to smuggle people and drugs into our state. We know how to do this. You know, the federal government, I mean, look, whether it is their abysmal failure at border security, whether it's this bailout train wreck that's happening to our economy, the federal government should leave state-level problems to the states. Which gets me around to an issue that I get fired up about, and that is the 10th Amendment. Know what it means. Give the states the right to decide those important issues. You know, at this Tea Party, and I want to say thank you to those individuals who are here today who helped put this on, the ones that started this back before. I see a sign over there that said, I ain't a Democrat, I ain't a Republican, I'm an American. And let me tell you, sister, you're right on. That's what this is about. This is about Americans standing up. It's about a Tea Party sending a very clear message that we will not stand for our pockets being picked, our children's future being mortgaged, our rights being taken away. Are you ready to stand up and tell that message day in and day out? Got a phone. You got a phone? Hand me a phone. I need a... Everybody that's got one of these, this may be one of those iPhones. I don't have one of them, but anyway, if you got a cell phone, and if you're fed up, I want you to pull that out right now, type in the words fed up, F-E-D-U-P, and then you put 95613 in there, 95613, and text it to me. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to gather up all of those names, and we're going to send Washington a message day after day after day that in Texas we are fed up. Help us send that Washington, D.C. a message. They need to hear us. They need to hear us loud and clear with a simple, direct message. Cut spending. Cut taxes. Shrink government. Reread the Constitution and return to the values, the lessons, and the precepts that made our country great. You do this, and our country will remain strong. You do this, and the future will be bright for these young Texans that are here. God bless you, and through you, God bless America.
Let's have a round of applause for the governor of the state of Texas!